Here I'm going to show you how to do a hip rotational hinge in the squat position. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the bottom of our squat. And once you're down here, you're going to let your knees kind of collapse in a little bit. So you're going to sink into your hips. You're going to keep your hands out in front or out to the sides. And then all you're going to do is try to keep your torso pointed forward as you drop one knee in, and then you come back. And then you're going to make sure you do the opposite side and come back. Now, if you can't do that because number one, you can't achieve as much depth, that's okay. You simply come a little bit higher up to whatever depth you can tolerate, and you just practice coming within whatever range you can tolerate. And what you're trying to practice is simply isolating the motion just in the hip and not letting everything else come into play. Now, it's okay if you can't get down here and you can't drop your knee all the way to the floor, that's fine. This is still something you can work on within whatever range of motion you can tolerate. I've had people work up here and just practice tolerating this internal rotation position in whatever range of motion they can tolerate. And then as you're doing other things to work on your squat depth, eventually as you achieve more hip flexion, and then you can tolerate more of that rotation to the knee, you're going to be able to really feel like you can isolate. I promise you this is not something that's impossible, but it is very difficult to achieve, but it's something that you can work on as long as you're smart. Don't do something that's painful. So if you notice that it's really giving you pain or discomfort, don't feel like you need to push through it. Make sure you work within a range of motion that you can tolerate. The purpose of this motion in particular is to be able to tolerate that rotational motion in that hip flex position. So when we're in the bottom of the squat, you'll see that we're in really deep hip flexion. And from here, as we drop the knee in, we're maintaining hip flexion, but the hip is rotating, and I'm also rotating through the knee because my foot is planted, right? So as I rotate the knee in, I'm also creating rotation through that joint. So it's something you can work on to really expose yourself to certain positions that you don't often train. But if it's something that you find yourself, or a position you find yourself in because of the demands of your sport or whatever activity you're putting your body through, it's a great way to start to target that position. So that's how you do a rotational hinge in the squat.